Hola guys and girls, and welcome to my first deck discussion video for Keyforge. In this first video we are gonna look at the cards and basically I will tell you about my opinion about the deck, what I like about it, what not, and we are starting with Castor der Wohltätige. It's a German deck as well, but don't worry, I will show you the cards in English. This is actually my favorite deck, that's why it's the only one in black sleeve. All the other ones have clear ones. But yeah, that's how the card deck looks. I don't know how if the webcam is actually showing it properly, but yeah, it has the three houses like you can see on screen as well. Dis, Logos, and Mars. And yeah, let's start first with just showing you the cards which are in it, and then I can tell you a little bit about the synergy, combos, and strategy you want to do with this deck. And yeah, the casual play, this is just me versus friends. So offline, this game is undefeated versus my friends. Online, like you can play online as well on a special site. That's where I will do my gameplay videos later on. I got some losses on this deck as well, so it's not like it's insanely good. I guess it's just because the quality of decks online is usually a bit higher than just with your friends, because my friends just play with random decks they have. Like they all bought 2 or 3 decks and then they play with the best one of this. Whereas online, of course, you have like the people playing there, they have a lot bigger pool of decks they can choose from, so probably the quality is a bit higher. But yeah, this is always, like in other decks as well, you will see later on, this is always just the offline score, not online, because I just want to count what I actually play with these cards. I have my hand right here, what the record of these cards is. But either way, let's not talk that too much. Let's go into the actual decks. So I can see right here the 3 houses. Let's just start from left to right. Let's start with this side. First card you can see right here is Control the Weak, which is a great card. I like it a lot. Basically what it does, you can see right here, choose a house on your opponent's identity card. Your opponent must choose that house as the active house next turn. And it gives you an Aember. That's the little yellow dot at the top left. If you play that card, you automatically get an Aember, and then the effect activates. It's an action card, so similar to spells in or spell cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Or like sorceries in Magic. This just gets played during your turn, and then the effect resolves, and then you put it in your discard pile. But either way, if you play this card, basically you choose what house your opponent has to choose next turn. As you know in Keyforge, at the beginning of each turn, you choose one of your 3 houses, and you can play these cards from your hand, and you can use the cards on the board just from that house. And if you can choose that, that can be a very powerful tool. Of course, you don't always know what your opponent has on the hand, so that's still a mystery, but you know what your opponent has on the board. And like let's say there's a house which isn't even on the board, you can just say, okay, play that house, and you already know not much will happen with the things on the board and stuff like that. Or if you know your opponent played a lot of cards from like one house last turn, like a lot of action cards, let's say like that, then you most likely the new cards he has in his hand, there will be very few of that house in his hand. So that's a way where you can like see which house to pick with that. But yeah, there are some combos with this card as well, but I like it a lot. Sadly, only one of that. When you got Fear, another action card, pretty straightforward, return enemy creature to its owner's hand. Just nice removal, which doesn't destroy something, which sometimes is better than actually destroying something. Then 2 Mind Barbs, once again give you an Aember. Your opponent discards a random card from the hand, which is great since you do it on your turn, and you always draw on the end of your turn. That means basically every card your opponent has left at the beginning of his turn, he won't get back. So he has less options to play from. Of course, it's a bit random if you grab like a good card your opponent want to play the next turn, or just some random. Either way, you get an Aember. So good card there. Poltergeist is a fun one because it's artifact removal, which is not that common. Gives you an Aember as well, and you get to use the artifact the opponent has. Like use any artifact controlled by any players as if it were yours, and destroy that artifact. So you can play this card, use it once, and then destroy it. So very nice artifact removal, and depending on the artifact your opponent has, you can actually make some good use of that effect as well. Like key to this, one of the best, it's one of the rares in the deck, and one of the best cards in the game. Artifact Omni. Omni means that you can play it with every house, so I don't have to call this to use this card. If I call Logos or Mars at the beginning of my turn, I can still use this effect of Key of This. And it's an artifact that means it stays on the field, and once I sacrifice it, I can destroy each creature, mine and my opponent's. But you already know, these board wipes, they're always nice, and this being Omni is very nice, so I can just, like let's say I have a lot of Logos creatures on hand, I just clear the board and then I can play all my Logos creatures, so... Oh, same with Mars or this. So Omni, having that at Omni is great. Sadly, since it's an artifact, you can't play it like right away. You have to wait a turn because artifacts enter the play exhausted. So, yeah, that's basically it. Next up, we got Library of the Damned, which is another artifact, just action. So you tap it basically and you archive a card from your hand. Archiving, what that means is you basically put it away for another turn. You have your hand cards, 6 cards there, and at the end of your turn, you draw always back to 6 cards. So you play all of your hand, you draw 6 cards, you only play 1, you draw 1 card. If you have 6 on hand, you draw nothing. Archiving is a way of getting cards rid of your hand, but you don't have to throw them away. Like, you can throw cards just on a discard pile from the house you called in case you... Like, I don't need them, whatever, I want to draw more cards, you can just discard them. But archiving is a better way of just preserving your cards for later. Basically, what you do, you remove them from the game, and at the beginning of each turn, you can choose to get your whole archive back into your hand. So you basically, each turn you can choose, okay, I have a card archived here, do I need this back? Or no, and then no, I keep the archive there it is, or yes, now I need this card in this turn, so I grab it from the archive, and there we go. So this card allows you to just basically put cards back for later, for a turn you know you need, and which allows you to draw more cards at the end of the turn. Then we got Dust Imp, pretty straightforward, just a power 2 creature, and if it's destroyed you gain 2 Aember. Nothing too special about that. That's a very nice card to use with the key to this already, because if you destroy each creature, this thing gets destroyed as well, you gain 2 Aember. Then we got Aember Imp, a very annoying card for the opponent, because the opponent cannot play more than 2 cards each turn, which is very nice, because usually, like, only playing 2 cards is very little in this game. Usually you play up 3 to 4 or 5 cards, something like even 6 cards in one turn. But yeah, problem of course, this thing dies very easily since it's only a power 2 creature with no protective effect, so you need to protect it to keep it longer on the field, but usually this is one of the first targets your opponent wants to get rid of. And yeah, because you want to play more than 2 cards. Next up, we got Pit Demon, a rather strong disc creature with power 5, just action, steal 1 Aember. It's basically better than Reaping since you don't get run from the general pool, you actually steal from the opponent. Brace, retort, not too much to talk about there. Then we got Shuffles. At the end of the turn, your opponent loses 1 Aember. Once again, a very annoying disc creature, which you have to protect because once again, only 2 power. But the good thing is, since it's end of your turn, you're guaranteed at least get rid of 1 Aember of your opponent. Since you play it, then it's the end of your turn, you get rid of 1, then he destroys it. But I already still got rid of 1, so that's good. But if you can protect it, that of course can just keep getting rid of Aember on the opponents, which is very annoying. This is another. So Shuffles and Aember Imp are like the 2 creatures you want to protect the most in this deck. Sadly, this deck doesn't have too much protection, but the biggest protection it has is actually this card right here, True Burrow, which 7 power disc creature and the strongest disc creature in this deck, and you must lose 3 Aember in order to play it, so that's the downside. If you play it, you have to get rid of 3 Aember from your side, but it has Taunt, that means it protects its neighbors, so in a perfect scenario you would have Shuffles and then Aember Imp right next to it, so they first have to destroy True Burrow. And another effect from this True Burrow is if it's destroyed, you gain 5 Aember. So theoretically, you make plus with it, since you get rid of 3, and once it destroys, you get 5 back. Of course, that only applies if it actually gets destroyed. If it like gets sent back to your hand, or it gets put into the archive of your opponent, then it's not destroyed, and you only lost 3. You're not gaining the 5 back. So you have to be a bit careful. Depending on what kind of factions your opponent has, you might not get the 5 back. But either way, this thing, like having you can just, for once it's a taunt, so your opponent has to attack it and not the neighbors, so it just gets destroyed quickly. And on the other hand, you can attack with it as well to get it destroyed faster. And of course, you have like things like the board wipes, like the already mentioned key to this to get rid of it. Like, let's say you get rid of True Burrow and then of the Dust Imp in one turn, that's 7 Aember. That's already 1 key, just by destroying these 2. But yeah, that's the this side of things. Now going to the logger side of things. First one is Dimension Door. For the remainder of the turn, any Aember you would gain from Reaping is stolen from your opponent instead. That is a very situational card. This is a card I throw out of my hand most of the time, since it's a Logos card. It means I can only play it if I call Logos. And like you can see right here, I don't have too many Logos creatures. I have like, what do I have? 1, 2, 4 Logos creatures. So best case scenario, I can steal 4, which is great. But these are not staying on the field on the same time. So yeah, this is very situational. It's nice to have it, just to have the option, of course, to steal from your opponent, because that's always annoying if you don't have a way of getting rid of Aember from your opponent's side, and he has like an Aember rush kind of deck. So, but most of the times, this thing just gets thrown off my hand. Then we got Fogify, which is a very fun card, because for once you get an Aember when you play it, and your opponent cannot use creatures to fight on the next turn. So if you have something you want to protect on the board, if you play Fogify, your opponent can't attack, so you have to use action cards to get rid of your things like the Shuffles or the Aember Imp, which is very nice. Next up, we got Help from Future Self, which is a special card which always comes together with Time Traveler. Time Traveler we will look later. Gets an Aember as well. You can search your deck and discard pile for a Time Traveler card, reveal it and put it into your hand, and then after that shuffle your discard pile into your deck. That means it doesn't shuffle itself into deck, since you first shuffle into the deck and then you would Helpful Future Self on the discard pile. But still, it's a great card. Let's just hop to Time Traveler right away so you can know what card it is. This is the Time Traveler. Gives you an Aember as well. If you play it, you can draw 2 cards. And action, so you tap it, shuffle Time Traveler back into your deck. So basically with this combo, it's a very simple one. You just play this, get an Aember, get the Time Traveler, and the discard pile back into the deck, which is nice. And then you play the Time Traveler, since you called Logos already, you get another Aember, and you get to draw 2 cards. So very simple, straightforward synergy, since it already says the name of the card. You don't have to think too much about it, but you get 2 Aember, 2 cards, and the discard pile back into the deck all in one turn. With basically only 1 card, since you only need that, and then you get Time Traveler either from the discard pile or the deck. Then we got Library Access. For the remainder of the turn, each time you play another card, draw a card. This is a very nice card, since if you call Logos, and especially with the combo of Help from Future Self and Time Traveler, like let's say you play Library Access, then Help from Future Self, you draw a card, you get Time Traveler, you play Time Traveler, draw 2 cards from the effect of Time Traveler, and another one since you play Time Traveler from Library Access. So that means you basically draw 4 cards, get the 2 Aember, and if these 4 cards are more Logos cards, you can play them as well, draw more cards, and yeah, with this, like the combo of Library Access and Help from Future Self, I like it a lot. Usually I wait till I play it since I get my Library Access as well, just so I can like draw that many cards. But yeah, that's the most straightforward, very nice combo in this deck. It's only 2 cards, but it gives you 2 Aember, 4 cards, and potentially even more cards if you draw more Logos cards. Then we got No Resistance. If your opponent has more Aember than you, steal 1 Aember and draw a card. So this is the nice card as well. Of course, very situational. Your opponent has to have more Aember than you. You actually gain an Aember by playing it. So basically, your opponent has to have 2 Aember more than you, because if you play this and you have the same amount because you got one from, because the top left Aember gain, that always happens first. You play this, you gain the Aember, and then you look at the effect of the thing. So that kind of is a bit annoying, but your opponent has 2 Aember more than you. You get one of them, you get another one, and you get to draw a card. Very nice once again to get rid of Aember from your opponent. Then Phase Shift, one of my favorite Logos cards. You play this, and that means you may play 1 non-Logos card this turn. Cards like this are always great, which allow you to use cards out of house, like I call Logos, but I can use Mars cards or discards. Cards like this are not that common, but they're very good, because that just gives you way more options for your turn. Like either things to use on the board, things from use from your hand. This, of course, only means cards from your hand, but there's some nice combos in it as well, but we'll go over that once you see the actual cards for that. Then Trimbled Emission gives an Aember as well. Deal 2 damage to a creature and deal 2 damage to a different creature. Pretty straightforward. You can shoot 2 times 2 damage. The only annoying part sometimes is that if your opponent has only 1 creature and you have more creatures, that means you choose the opponent's creature, 2 damage on that, and you have to choose another one. So sometimes you have to choose your own creature to get 2 damage on. But sometimes that might actually help. Like, for example, you can use that to get 2 damage on the opponent, then 2 damage on your Dust Imp, and you gain 2 Aember as well. So, like I said, there's some synergy as well, but sometimes there are some scenarios where I don't want to play this card because I don't want damage on my own creatures. When Spectral Tunneler is an artifact, gives you an Aember as well. If you play it, you can choose a creature. For the remainder of the turn, that creature is considered a flank creature, and against Reap, draw a card. Usually, like the flank creature thing, in this deck, there's no synergy with that. There's some cards which might make you think that it is, but actually doesn't. The only thing is you can do is make an opponent creature a flank creature. With this deck can't do anything else either. So basically the only thing this artifact does is gives you an Aember, and you can give a creature redraw a card. The whole flank creature thing, in this deck there's nothing which can use that. Depends on your opponent. If he has maybe a card which, like, if it's a flank creature, it's stronger or weaker or something like that. So with this, you can do some shenanigans with that, but in the deck itself, it's not the best. So, but it gives you an Aember, so why not? Then one of my favorite cards on the Logos side from this is Psychic Bug. Gives you an Aember first of all, and play Reap. Look at your opponent's hand. So if you play it, you can look at your opponent's hand, and every time you Reap with it, like you tap it and you get an Aember, you can look at your opponent's hand as well. This is very nice, especially if you have Psychic Bug, then Phase Shift, and then Control the Weak, because then you can not only see what your opponent has on the field, you know what your opponent has on the hand as well. And then you can, like, choose the weakest house for sure, what he can do. Like, you know what he has on hand, you know, okay, I don't want to play this, I don't want to play this, you just play Control the Weak. Of course, with Phase Shift, you have to do it since you have to call Logos to play the Psychic Bug. But with the Phase Shift, you can play a non-Logos card, and then you play Control the Weak, and there we go, boom. You know the opponent's hand, and you can choose what he has to play. Time Travel, I got about that, and then there's 2 Type Mechanics. Type Mechanics, 6 power, very strong Logos creature. While the Type Mechanics on flank, each key costs -1. So that's the card which you might think has some synergy with the Spectral Tunneler. It kind of has, but the problem is it's only for your turn. So you play Spectral Tunneler, choose a creature for the remainder of the turn. So you can only forge keys at the beginning of the turn. So you can't forge a key because you only have 5. Then you make a flank creature, they only cost 5, but you can't actually forge them because you have to be at the beginning of your turn. So that's why it's not actually that much synergy, but there can be. There actually can be. There's a very rare occurrence in this deck where it can happen. And then you have 2 of those, so we can potentially, if they're both on the flank, they both make the cost -1. The problem with that is it makes them cheaper for your opponent as well. Like you can see each key costs 1 less, so even for your opponent. So you have to be very careful when to put this on your flank and when to put something else on the flank. But sometimes it's nice to not have it on the flank, but have something else next to it on the flank, because that means then if your opponent kills the other creature, this creature might potentially become a flank creature. By the way, I didn't even explain it for you, for the new guys. Flank means the creatures on the top right and top left of your battle line. You always have to put your creatures next to each other, either on the right or the next. You have to play the next one. And the creatures at the top left, most left and most right are the flank creatures. And everything else in the middle is not on the flank. So yeah. Basically, if you have a creature right next to it and that gets destroyed by the opponent, now Titan Mechanic is a flank creature, and when he finishes his turn, you can actually forge a key at lower cost. So sometimes you can do some little protection shenanigans with the Titan Mechanic as well. Like let's say you put the I don't know, the shackles next to it, something like that. Then your opponent has to choose, okay, do I kill this now, make the key for my opponent cheaper, and that way he can forge a key? Or do I let this guy live? He can forge a key, but I will lose another Ember next turn. So there are some decisions the opponent has to make if this is on the on the flank and not. And of course, but for you as well, you have to consider when to play this and when to play it on the flank and when don't play it on the flank. Or I mean, you always have to play it on the flank, but maybe you can play another creature next to it, so it's not on the flank anymore. But yeah, this is the Logos side. Like I said, this is the most fun side, I want to say. This is like more the annoying for the opponent. And now we come to the creature-wise to the meat of the deck, the mass side of things. First of all, we have 2 Ammonia Clouds. Ammonia Clouds deal 3 damage to each creature. So that's another board wipe. We actually have 2 of those. So like I said, once again, synergy with our 2 creatures which get destroyed, give us Ember. And board wipes are always nice. This deck usually doesn't have the strongest board with the opponents. Like more often than not, the opponent has the stronger board than you. So these board clears are very nice. Just get rid of those, reset the board, and then play your things, and then be annoying to the opponent. Next up, we got EMP Blast. Most of the times just used to destroy each artifact, because if you play it, you get an Ember for once, and then each mass creature and each robot creature is stunned, each artifact is destroyed. So, the mass creatures are the most creatures in this deck are from Mars, so you usually don't want to play to stun your own creatures. Only, like, let's say you play versus a different Mars deck, then this can be useful. Most of the times you just play it for the Ember and to destroy each artifact if your opponent has a lot of artifacts which annoy you. Yeah, like I said, Artifact Destruction is a bit rare, so nice to have this on the deck. But of course you have to think when do I play this, like, if you have a lot of Mars creatures on your side, you might not want to play this because then they get stunned and that is annoying. Then we got Key Abduction. So this is a very nice card, but very situational. It's only, most of the times I just play for the Ember. There are very rare occurrences where I actually play for its actual effect. So let's talk about the effect. First of all, you get an Ember, like I already said. Return each Mars creature to its owner's hand, so yours and the opponent's. Then you may forge a key at +9 current cost, reduced by 1 Ember for each card in your hand. So we might think, okay, as a beginner to Keyforge, why is this such a good card? Because this allows you to forge a key on your own turn, which is great. Because usually, like I already said, you can only do it at the beginning of your turn, and then your opponent, you have to say, check, I have now enough Ember to forge a key, and then the opponent can like steal your Ember, get rid of Ember, all these good stuff. But if you forge on your own turn, your opponent can't do anything, because as you might not know if you're a beginner as well, Keyforge doesn't have any cards which play with your opponent's turn. So it's not like in Magic where you can someone surprise with an instant, and no, that happens, and I play this effect. If it's your turn, it's your turn. The only effects which from your opponent which affect you are the ones which are already in the field. And like, for example, I don't know, like the opponent, you can't play 2 cards each turn. That's something like that. Basically, your opponent can surprise you on your own turn. So yeah, that's why this is nice. Most of the times, I don't want to have my Mars creatures back to my owner's hand. Sometimes I play it just to get the opponent's Mars creatures back to my hand. But this is a nice combo as well. For one, this is the one scenario in which, The Spectral Tunnel might come into play, because then I can make this a flank creature, even if it isn't. My key costs 1 less, because key abduction set at current cost, so the -1 from my type mechanic does count for that. Other than that, nice combo with that is with Phase Shift, and I already mentioned the combo with Help from Future Self and the Library Access, because I draw a lot of cards, then I play Phase Shift, draw another card, and then I have a lot of cards in hand, play the key abduction, and like you already see, the key gets reduced by 1 for each card in your hand. So, example, usually a key costs 6 Ember. I have 6 cards in my hand, plus 9, so it would cost 15 Ember to forge it, minus 6 because that's the cards in my hand, so it would cost 9 Ember to forge a key. But if I have a lot of cards in my hand, let's say I have 10 cards in my hand, then we have usual cost 6, plus 9 is 15, minus 10, only 5 Ember for the key. So you can already see that a lot of cards make this card a lot better, especially since all mass creatures get back to my hand, so my hand might clog up very quickly. And each mass creature back to hand is usually not net that, because first you can use all your mass creatures, like your reap, your effects, attack, all this good stuff, play key abduction back to your hand, forge a key, and then you can just play them out again. Because, like I said, there's no cost thing in there. As long as you called mass, you can play all your mass cards again. So yeah, very nice card. Like I said, very situational. I don't use the Keyforge effect that often. Usually, most of the times, I just want the Ember. But yeah, that's a great card to archive, for example, with your Library of Damn, just to get rid of it for later, because it's a very situational card. Then we got Grabber Jammer. Mass creature 4 power, 1 armor, your opponent key costs 1 more, fight, reap, capture 1 Ember. So another way of getting rid of Ember from your opponent. Capturing means that the Ember gets not in your own Ember pool, but gets put on this creature, and the opponent has first to destroy this creature before he can get his Ember back. So every time you reap with it or you fight with it, you get steal an Ember from that, and the opponent's key costs 1 more, which is always nice. Like, key cost check, you just play Grabber Jammer, never mind, you can't forge a key, first you have to get rid of that. So, and the 1 armor, of course, makes it more difficult to get rid of that. For the new people, armor means that this 1 time each turn, this gets subtracted. Let's say my opponent does 2 damage to me, I have 1 armor, then 1 subtracted, he only does 1 damage. But on the other hand, if he does 2 damage to me, and then with another creature 3 damage, I would die, because from the 3 damage, it doesn't get subtracted for each time you get damaged, only 1 time a turn. But yeah, that's Grabber Jammer for you. Then we have Mind Warper, another fun way of getting rid of Ember from your opponent, because first of all, it's elusive, so that means the first time this creature attacks each other, no damage is dealt. That goes both ways, so if my opponent attacks it, no creature gets damaged, he doesn't get the 2 damage from Mind Warper, and Mind Warper doesn't get damage from the opponent. He has to attack it twice in a turn to get rid of it, or of course play something to do damage on it. Then the action, choose an enemy creature, it captures 1 Ember from its own side. That is fun, because first of all, if it's captured, he can't use it to forge keys, and if I end up destroying that creature, I actually get the Ember from him, because captured Ember always goes to your opponent. So I get an Ember from his pool, put it on a creature of his, I destroy the creature, and then I get the Ember, which was placed on that. He doesn't get it back. So that's why it's a fun effect. It always depends what kind of creatures your opponent has. Other times you might just want to reap with it, because if the opponent has a strong creature, you're not killing anytime soon, and he doesn't have a lot of Ember, so you're not scared about him forging soon. You might just want to reap to get the Ember straight away from this creature. Next up, we have Tank, the biggest fighting force in this deck, basically, because after you play another mass creature, fully heal Tank. So this thing just doesn't die if you have enough mass creatures, which this deck has a lot of mass creatures, so it's not dying fast. It's 6 power, 1 armor. It's overall, I think, no, True Barrow is 7 power, so it's they're both very strong creatures, but this thing just keeps healing itself, and the opponent has a hard time killing it. So yeah, that's nice. Once again, for the beginners, the 6 power is at the same time your damage you're dealing and the HP you are having. So after 6 damage is done to this creature, it's dying. And like I said, I get 5 damage on it, I play another mass creature, back to 0, fully healed. So yeah, Tank is very nice for just fighting. And then the 2 most annoying and my favorite mass creatures on the deck is 2 times I got Uxlix, the Zookeeper. Once again, it's elusive, so you need to attack it 2 times to get rid of it, and then the effect. If I reap with it, so I get an Ember if I do it, and then put an enemy creature into your archive. So in my archive, if that creature leaves your archive, it puts in its owner's head instead. So basically, that's what I meant with not destroying things. I can do it and basically remove a card from the game for as long as I want, because it gets put in my archives, and only if I put my archives into hand, like I want my own cards in the archives back, then he gets them back into his own hand. And depending on the creatures he have, I might not even do it. So basically, if I want to, and I don't have good cards in my archives, like put with the Library of the Damned, I put some cards of myself into the archives I want back at some point, they're just gone forever, and they're not destroyed. So all destroyed effects are gone. They're not in discard pile, so they don't get shuffled back into the deck once your deck is gone or with other cards. They're just gone from the game until I decide, yeah, you can have it back. Here you go. I need my cards from the archive. So that is very annoying for the opponent because, first of all, I get an Aember, so it's not like I lose something by using that effect. I get an Aember and then I remove something from the game. And I got 2 of those, which is very nice. If the opponent doesn't get rid of it, I just have board control. Or if he plays something, I call Mars, boom, 2 creatures gone. I still get 2 Aember. And opponent's turn, and he can't do anything, barring he gets rid of those. So yeah, having 2 of those on the field, and the opponent not having a way of getting rid of them with action cards. Basically, I just always remove his cards from the creatures from the game, and I get Aember in the turn, and slowly but surely I will win, because the opponent can't create Aember without creatures, or not a lot at least. Usually reaping is the most efficient way to get Aember. And yeah, and I keep getting Aember, so that's very nice. Then we got Scizor Bolter, fight, reap, deal 2 damage to a creature. If this damage is destroyed, that creature purge it. Purge it means actually removing from the game. Not putting in archives, but actually putting away from the table, basically. You can't get it back until the game is over. I can do 2 once again with just reaping or fighting. Fighting is a bit happens less often because you actually have to survive the fight to use this effect. So I have to attack a 2 power or 1 power creature to make use of that, which sometimes happens, but most of the time you will just reap with it, get an Aember, and then shoot 2 damage on something, which is very nice. Once again, like I said, I have a lot of reaping things like these 3. Once I call Mars, I reap a lot and I get a lot of benefits from it as well. Same with Zizix the Many. Fight and reap, you may reveal a creature from your hand. If you do, archive it, and Zizix the Many gets 3 + 1 power counters on it. So basically, every time I reap or fight with it, he gets stronger by 3 if I decide to show a creature from my hand and archive it. Then, of course, you have to balance it out with the Olix the Zookeeper, because you don't want to archive too many of your creatures and archive many of your opponents, because then you get into trouble. Okay, I kind of want my creatures back, but on the other hand, I don't want to give my opponent the creatures back. So you can't, usually you can pump them up to like a lot, to like 12 power or something like that. But in this kind of deck, especially if you have the Zookeeper out, you might want to think first before you just mindlessly power this guy up, and then you have all your creatures in your archive, and you're thinking, oh goddamn, now what do I do? I don't have creatures anymore, I just have this guy. But either way, other than that, he's great, because once you have like put him to 9 power or 6 power, you just fight with him, kill something, and then you get damage, but basically you get stronger by 3, so if you only take 3 creatures, you basically never die. But yeah, that's Zizix of the Many. And then last but not least, we got Biometrics Backup, gets you an Aember, and this creature gets destroyed. You may put this creature into its owner's archives. So usually you play this, of course, on your own creatures, because then they get put into your archives. But yeah, once again, like I said, there's a lot of archive in your stack for your things and the opponent's things, and that's like something you have to think about this deck. But yeah, that's basically all about the deck. I talked about the combos with like Library Access Have It Yourself, or this combo plus Phase Shift plus EMP plus Key Abduction. Then we got Ammonia Clouds plus the creatures which want to get rid of them. We got Control the Weak plus Psychic Bug to basically have the opponent have a 0 play turn. And yeah, overall I like this deck a lot. It's not as strong on the board, like I said. It's very more controlly. Like, it gets rid of cards on the board, gets rid of cards from your hand, you decide what he has to play, you draw a lot of cards, and then you just wipe the board with EMP Blast and Ammonia Claws, for example, and then you Aember a lot. So it's very controlly. There are not that many strong creatures. There are a few, like Turbo, Titan Mechanics, and the Trunk are 6 power creatures, but usually your opponent has a stronger board than you, but you can just wipe it or basically keep your opponent's board low as well. But you have to be careful not to get your opponent ahead. But with 3 board wipes, potentially with 2 Ammonia Clouds and the key to this, like I said, this deck has a lot of answers to anything. It has Artifact Destruction, Creature Destruction, board wipes, Aember Stealing, Aember Generating, all this good stuff. So that's why I like this deck. It's like it feels like a toolbox deck, because an answer for anything is in this deck. You just have to draw it, of course, at the right time. But with the drawing power of logos and with the library access things and all this good stuff, you usually have all the cards you need at every time. And yeah, that's all for this deck. I hope, if you have any questions about this deck, how certain cards work, or if you see a combo right here I never thought about, I didn't mention it, of course let me know in the comments as well. The next video will be some gameplay with this, so you can basically see this deck actually in action and how it works, and if I actually was right with the things I talked about. But yeah, that's all from me. I will see you another time. Ciao.